Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. This is Market Today. I'm Sakshi Batra. Well, as of yesterday, we've actually seen select heavyweight stocks, including HDFC Bank and, of course, the Adani Group stocks, propping up the index higher yet again, closer to a 3-week high for both the Sensex and the Nifty. Among the sectors, we did see the energy indices outperform yesterday. That rallied about 1.5%. Select pharma and the realty stocks also, however, saw some profit booking at higher levels as well. But it was the Adani Group companies that saw buying interest after clarification of the no FCPA charges came in. All the stocks ended higher, rising anywhere between 5 and 20%, some of them hitting upper circuits as well. Apart from this, we also saw buying in select pockets within the auto space, especially in Ola Electric, which also hit an upper circuit in trade. This was following the launch of new vehicles right there and a positive brokerage house report as well. Apart from this, the debut of NTPC Green was mildly positive, but the stock definitely ended 12% higher on the debut day itself. Now, apart from this, when we look at the kind of cues that we are getting, we have seen that the Wall Street ended lower, so we have a weaker handover from the US. That's because sell-off in the world's largest technology companies pressured the US stocks, while the latest economic data, however, strengthened the expectations of a gradual pace of the Fed rate cuts going forward from here. The S&P 500 particularly ended down by 0.4%, losing its 7 days of a winning streak. Then Dow Jones fell by about 0.3% in trade. The Nasdaq was also down by 0.6% in trade. So all across the board, weakness that persisted. Following this, in the early opening action on the Asia Pacific region, we did see a mixed trade happening, up by 0.4%, just marginal gains coming in for the Kospi. Hang Seng, however, was down by about 1.1% in trade, while the SSE China was up marginally as well. The GIFT Nifty trends are indicative of 336. That's in a mildly positive zone as well. Apart from this, we'll also keep an eye out on how the crude oil prices are trading at. Remember, and they are hovering around $72.78 a barrel. And what we're also given to understand is when we talk about the overseas flows, the FIIs have remained net buyers of the Indian equities for the third consecutive session as of yesterday, although the buying was absolutely minuscule at 7.8 crore rupees only. The domestic institutional investors, they turned net buyers after 2 days of selling as well. But we'll have to see what does this really indicate in terms of the FII buying. At least the heavy sell-off that was taking place, is that behind or not, is something that we will try and understand from our top market experts, as well as to where do we see the markets head from here on as well. Several stocks that you could look at. HUDCO, NBCC will be in focus, as HUDCO has signed an MOU with NBCC for the development of 10-acre land parcel that's owned by HUDCO in Noida. NBCC will be handling the execution of the project, which is estimated to cost about 600 crores. KEC International will be in focus. It secured an order worth about 1,700 odd crore rupees for transmission and distribution business from Power Grid. Again, with the orders that the company has got on a year-to-date basis, the order intake for the company has reached 16,300 crores. That also will be in focus as well. Sonata Software will be in focus. The company has received a multi-million-dollar modernization deal in Australia from a global company. Wari Renewables could be in focus. The company has received a term sheet for constructing work for a solar PV project worth about 1233 odd crore rupees. So those are some of the stocks that we can definitely keep an eye out on. Let's in fact welcome our top guest on the day with us, Mr. Devin Choksi, the MD of DR Choksi Pincer Private Limited, is now joining in. Warm welcome to you, sir, and thank you so much for taking the time out. Yet again, it's a pleasure to host you. A lot has taken place in the interim in the last 1 week that we've spoken to you last. First up, it's the electoral mandates that we actually got on Maharashtra and Haryana that actually fueled a lot of spirits back into the D Street as well. I wanted to just begin by understanding from you, what are the markets sensing from a larger central victory yet again in some of these pockets? Is it the focus that will be turning back to expenditure on some of the pockets that the government was initially focused on railways, on road construction, on defense? Because these are the pockets that are actually showing us some signs. So how does one read into the momentum that will now shift post the elections?
Well, I think you've put in, pertinent points. Maharashtra is an important state, and I think it's the largest contributor to the exchequer in form of taxes, revenues, whatever you call it as. So obviously, I think it is important to hold this straight and probably demonstrate the kind of progress that is required from a state like Maharashtra. Government is in center is becoming more and more confident with every election that they are winning in the state, and probably I think they are ready for taking some of the major steps as far as reform is concerned. The world wants the creativity, the world wants the reforms, and that's what I think this government is providing for. So, in my viewpoint, I think it is attracting a lot of investments. Coming straight into the capital market related impact, it is attracting a lot of investments. In each of the areas, be it cheap manufacturing, be it renewables, be it in the area of the newer technologies that we are adopting, I think the country is significantly inviting new investment into the country, and that is more important from the investment perspective. So we remain distinctly bullish about the prospects and the possibilities going forward. And we believe that I think this government's confidence level is so increased that they would probably take some of the key reform measures which have eluded this country for a very long period of time. Probably, I think that is what the investor, the market, the corporate world, and all of us want to see as citizens as far as the government's ability to take decisions is concerned. That is what this election is creating the path for.
Right. And now, Devendra, in the light of what alignment of what the world could be, again, we are talking about this politics and policies. So let's also take in to understand, what will happen globally now. We are seeing slowly and gradually the Trump administration talk tough on the tariff wars, higher tariffs, at least on the neighbors to start off with as well. Do you think in light of that, one has to really look at what are the assumptions that we have been making in terms of the key sectors that could benefit as well as those which could be impacted? How many of these assumptions in terms of what Trump trade could plan out as will be true and will not be true? How does one really assess that?
Success from weapon wars to tariff wars. I think the word war is common between the two. And I believe that I think this is not going to go away. On one good side, that I think the move that Israel has taken in in ceasefire
Yes.
in one element of the war, which is extremely important. Uh, believe that I think with the Trump government coming in, it's going to be the turn wherein they are going to probably mediate in Russia-Ukraine war, would also take a backseat hereafter. So I think post-war, what happens is more important. And post-war, the reconstruction starts happening. Today, I think after the destruction, significant amount of reconstruction will take place. And that is where the world is going to provide maximum amount of aid. If that theory holds, which I believe will, in such situation, I think country like India would be in an advantageous situation. Largely because of the fact that while other countries which are expansionist and which are taking over the territory, where the America is mindful of not letting them travel that path. So today, if you look at I think Canada, if you look at Mexico, if you look at China, the government, Trump government is intending to bring significant amount of tariff to prevent them from conquering the space in the America. Whereas India is becoming an allied partner. India is a supplier. India provides to what America needs. And that's what I think is likely to benefit. In my viewpoint, I think with the construction prospects emerging post-war, I believe that I think metal and the commodities are likely to see relatively much better growth path going forward. And that would be a good theme to follow to begin with by the investors. Maybe I think that's a contra theme, but this is a theme which can possibly produce relatively faster return in a shorter period of time.
These two pockets then, and I'll continue to watch out for all the trends that are shaping up here. The third aspect is with the change of heart sorts that we are seeing in the FIIs and the flows right there. Third day in a row, the buying has been pretty small, just in single digits, around 7 crores as of yesterday. But are there any indications of any reversal coming in, at least from the heaviest sell-off that we've actually seen? We were terming it as an exodus over the last 5-6 weeks odd or so of FIIs. Do you think at least that pace of selling will reduce, if not completely reverse, sir?
Well, I think everybody operates this market, I think, as per their objective. The FIRs or the FPIs, they operate the trading part of the market significantly. And that's where I think they would cash out their holding when the market gives them a fabulously rich valuation. Anybody in that place, I think, would have also done the same thing when the market gives you some phenomenal amount of advantage by way of higher valuation. uh, they are the ones I think who are also buying when the market corrects. And today, you see some of the large cap companies which have corrected and their valuations have become cheaper. I think that has naturally invited the interest of many investors, including FPI, FI, we call them as. So, from a perspective of I think they returning into India market, my strong belief is that as long as corporate sectors earning growth is in parity with the valuation in the market, I believe that I think it will naturally attract the large investors, traders from global space as well. And I think if they remain here for a longer period of time, all the more good because I think that will provide a good amount of stability to the market as well.
Okay, we'll just 30 seconds keep an eye out on how the pre-opening trade is shaping up. 24,248 right now. It's a swift changeover, 25 points lower, very, very volatile in the pre-opening trade. We'll have to just wait and watch as to how this shapes up. Let's look at some of the heavyweight counters there. Let's look at an HDFC Bank, for instance, that has been helping the markets on the way up in the last few trading sessions. That's opening about 0.9% higher. Let's look at an ICICI Bank. Let's also look at the heavyweight IT stocks, Infosys, TCS, although yesterday's gains were limited to a few of them yesterday. ICICI Bank is absolutely flat at 1300 levels. Let's look at what Infi, Wipro and TCS are doing at this point in time. Flattish trade panning out on the IT space as well. Let's also look at how Adani Group stocks are moving up because yesterday is when a sharp rally came about in all the stocks after the first half of trading session. Yet again, there is an indication that there could be sharp move across the board. Adani Energy is indicative of a 9.5% uptick at 724 odd levels today in the pre-opening trade. That is a 2% uptick for Adani Enterprises, the flagship firm, at 2450. Let's look at Adani Green, 8% higher, 1068. So we will be tracking Adani Ports. Let's look at that one too, about half odd percent of a move. So some buying continuing from yesterday's sharp rally as well. Adani Power, that's also shot up almost 20% higher, and about 8% uptick can actually be seen in the pre-opening trade today. 5% higher for Adani Total. So across the board, there is some gain coming in. Coming back to our conversation with Devin sir, we'll talk about the Adani Group stocks yet again. I do remember speaking with you when the US indictment had come in as well. Do tell us how over the last few days of various developments coming in from the US, as well as some clarifications coming in from the group, senior advocates also talking vocally about some gaps in the US indictment, and they wanted to find out as to what is the key factor because of which Gautam Adani has been indicted, because at least in count 1 and count 5, which were the corruption acts and the violation of the Justice Act, is where his name and his nephew's name was not there. So several aspects right there for us to understand here. But how should an average retail investor really look at these sharp volatile turns on an everyday basis, just on the basis of news flows that are coming in on that day, sir?
Well, I think very importantly, the confidence in the business fundamentals of the Adani Group companies, they have not shaken because of whatever the outcome of US court or allegations that they have made, etc. I don't think that I think any one of us have doubted the group's ability to deliver the infrastructure projects. Today, at a group level, 85,000 crore worth of EBITDA and 20% kind of a CAGR growth for 3 years is something which is seen on paper. Along against which I think the debt at around 2,40,000 crore, which is 3 years of EBITDA, if at all I think growth is not counted. I think nobody will even doubt, including the banker, about financial ability of the group to manage the businesses. So that part we keep aside. Now, as far as the sentiment part is concerned in the market's job is to react on such kind of negative news. and let them react. But I think that brings the fundamental value to a considerable level of bargain. That is where probably some of the bargain hunters would buy these kind of companies in their portfolio, and they make faster money out of that particular situation. So we remain absolutely clear of focus: power generation assets, commodity assets, infrastructure assets like roads, airports, and ports. Each of these assets are having significantly large amount of cash flow to talk about, and that's where probably I think one remains confident about the prospects going forward. We don't talk about, I think, the allegations and the justice thereafter. But
Sure.
one point I think I must talk that uh, various companies in the world, whoever has faced, I think, the allegations and the bribery charges in past, they are still operating with a higher amount of business and their prominent positions. So that part should not be forgotten while I think concentrating on one aspect of what the court has alleged.
Okay. So that's as far as the Adani group is concerned. Moving on, there's one more pocket that actually garnered a lot of strength yesterday, and that's the auto space, which we had not touched too much upon because remember, there were the earnings disappointments across the board, be it two-wheelers, four-wheelers. There was also some signs from the management talking about how they are not very confident about consumption in the urban areas really shooting up as well. Festive demand came out to be muted for some of them too. But especially the EV space, Devinsa, is getting more interesting in the passenger vehicles or in the two-wheeler space as well. M&M is planning to go big there. Launches coming in. Maruti is coming out with their EV as what is your own take in the entire EV space? Yesterday, Ola Electric shot up about 20% just on the basis of three launches that they are talking about too. So, how should one be really navigating through this EV space particularly?
I guess I think it's a reality. 2025 will be the year in which most of the OEMs are going to be producing and bringing up the newer models of electric vehicles, be it in two-wheeler space or be it in four-wheeler space. So that's a reality. And this will keep the market excited. Uh, Having said that part, I guess I think the are not going to be producing enough amount of profit margin, save and except I think companies like Bajaj Auto, which has done a superbly integrated business model for out there. So they are relatively better off compared to others. But in my viewpoint, at least in the near term, the margins will be slightly more challenged from the EV perspective. But as they keep increasing the growth and as they keep bringing down the cost of batteries in particular, and also I think the success of battery as a service model, I believe that I think that could possibly change the game going forward. So we want to remain a little bit more confident about the prospects and possibilities in different companies as we see them operating in the market.
Right. Now, Devin sir, before we let you go, could you also help us understand if you've added any fresh names to the list of the stocks that you've talked about on our channel often, where you're getting incrementally positive signs, risk rewards are turning favorable, value buys are further emerging in front of you, that even in this, consolidative phase that we are looking at in the market, perhaps it's now time to start allocating some of the funds which investors were holding on tight to and were sitting on cash. Now is the time to start deploying some of that fund. What would you advise on key stocks, sir?
I think many companies have corrected on valuations, and that is
Yes.
a good opportunity. The opportunity in companies in the engineering R&D space in IT remains absolutely strong and convincing. Some of the auto ancillary space, I think the opportunity remains brilliant. I think one should not be, I think now worried about the valuation because they are available at a compelling the corrected valuations. The BFSI space, fortunately, has now started recognizing that if interest rate starts coming down, the banks will probably start doing much better than what they did earlier. So that is where probably I think you are liking some of the large NBFCs, some of the large corporate banks from investment point of view. So the list will go on across the sectors. I think depending on the appetite that investor carries. But only word that I put across here is this era is an era where the league is getting bigger. So
Yeah.
try and see whether the companies are having the capability to deliver a bigger picture which the country is demanding, which the demography is demanding. If that is the
Correct.
case, then probably I think you will make a lot of money out of these investment selections.
Okay, fair enough. Well, on that note, thank you so much, Devin sir, for
Thank
being
you.
with us on this show, and always appreciate your presence, your calm advice on the markets, even in these volatile terms, really helps out all our viewers to get that clarity as to how do they have to move forward in this time. Thank you so much for being with us, sir.
Thank
All
you.
right, viewers, we'll quickly look at how the markets have settled in the pre-open trade. Now, absolutely flat on the Nifty, 24,274 right now. It's an absolute flat trade on the Nifty. But beyond the Nifty, when we look at the Nifty Bank, that's indicative of a positive start, 0.17% higher at 52,389 thereabouts. Sectorally, the action could again be on the broader markets yet again today. Yesterday also they were seen outperforming. Small caps are again indicative of a 0.5% rise. What Devin sir was mentioning is what he's mentioning. Metal space is something that he's looking at. Commodity space is something where he's looking at. So metals is again looking up about 0.4%. You have the realty space, PSU banks, financial services, and even oil and gas and pharma indicative of a positive start. Although IT could be on the back foot, autos could be on the back foot as of the early indications that are coming in from the pre-open trade. On the Nifty, again, Adani Enterprises could be seen as moving at the higher side, about 2% higher. Dr. Reddy's, Sriram Finance, Coal India, Wipro could be among the. While on the downside, Infi, Bharti Airtel, Cipla, M&M, Tata Steel could be the ones that could be seen dragging. But we'll also keep an eye out on the PSU space that did show us a lot of promise across the board on defense and on railways pack as well. Let's now welcome Osho Krishnan. He's the senior research analyst for technicals and derivatives, and he's now joining in with his take on the markets. Welcome, Osho. Good to have you with us. Tell us, what are you making of the kind of moves that we have been seeing in the markets? Weekly expiry for the Nifty today. It's been volatile all through this week thus far. What goes next?
Very good morning, Sakshi. Firstly, thank you for having me at the show. Well, now in the recent developments, we have seen that the market have given a very smart recovery from the lower zone, but at the higher levels, we are facing very stiff resistance around the zone of 24, 350, 400 odd levels. So I'm expecting that by today, because this is the monthly expiry for November. So today there can be again a kind of a range bound movement as indicated by the derivative front, 24, 100 would have seen a decent accumulation, while on the higher end, again, the highest open interest is still prevailing around 24,500 call option. So I expect that there can be a range bound move, but the positive thing is that any dip towards the zone of 24,200 to 150 should be auguring very well for the buyers for intraday, while on the higher end, one should try to book their profits or stay light at higher levels around 24, 450 to 500 odd levels. So this is the overall view for Nifty for the day. But looking at Bank Nifty, I am more bullish on Bank Nifty. Two reasons. One, HDFC Bank has seen a very strong movement and it has entered the uncharted territory. So that's a positive development in the banking space. Also, Bank Nifty on the technical front has emerged very strongly in the last couple of trading session and is just about to give a fresh breakout of multi-month breakout that we can say on the daily time frame. The only restrictions or the only challenge that we can face is the bearish gap, which is approximately around the zone of 52,600 to 52,850 odd levels. So these are the zones that we have to be very watchful of. The time it surpasses the zone, there can be a strong bullish movement in the coming period. So I expect that in the December month contract, there can be a strong positive movement in the market. Only for today, there can be a range bound movement for both Nifty and Bank Nifty indices.
Okay, quickly, 30 seconds to you. Any two stock ideas that you're working with for today?
There are two counters, both are buy side. Firstly is CDSL. CDSL has been into a very positive trend. It has been making higher highs, higher lows. Currently around 1620, I guess. So one can accumulate at current levels. 1680 is something that I'm eyeing for in the short term. Second one is Geo Finance. Geo Finance is hovering at 325 approx levels, keeping a stop loss of 310. One can accumulate for target of nearly 355.
Got that. So the markets have opened 24,300 with us, 20 points higher in trade. It's a positive start for the Nifty Bank at 52,400 as well. 1/10% higher for the Nifty, 2/10% higher for the Nifty Bank. 100 points up is what Nifty Bank has swiftly moved up to. Sectorally, broader markets are slightly in the positive zone, but it's a flattish trade across the board, and the markets are swiftly, hovering around the flat line among the sectors. But top movers: Adani Enterprises 2% higher in trade, Dr. Reddy's about 1% up, HDFC Life, Coal India, Sriram Finance, and ITC remain as the top movers. Let's look at the stocks which are in lower trajectory. Eicher Motors down 1%. Bajaj Auto down almost 1%, M&M down almost 1%, Cipla and Infosys are the other stocks that are seen dragging. PSU index is slightly up in trade. You have stocks like Coal India, NTPC, IRFC, HAL, oil and natural gas, and even BPCL as among those which are seeing some gains coming in. F&O space, you have Colgate, Palmolive. Brokerage houses coming out with positive reports on this one. Godrej Property is about 2% higher. Adani Enterprises is another one that's been moving up. Let's quickly look at how the broader market gains are shaping up. Any key stocks that we should be marking within the Nifty 500 basket. Across the board in the Adani group, we have Adani Total Gas opening 9% up. Adani Energy Solutions 8.5% higher, Adani Green 8% up in trade as well. So you do have a slew of Adani Group stocks that are actually opening up into the positive zone yet again for the second day in a row after yesterday's sharp surge. Adani Power also up by about 5% now. Let's also pull up ACC and Ambuja to see how that one is also moving in trade within the group truly. So ACC is down, mildly down at 22.05. And let's also pull up Ambuja at this point in time. That's 0.5% higher in trade. Mixed trade across the board on the Adani Group, but largely the stocks are on the positive zone. Let's pull up Ola Electric. Remember, yesterday it was a 20% circuit for this one on the back of launches. For the second day in a row, you are seeing about a 4% uptick on Ola Electric yet again at 91.6 odd levels. Let's also pull up Green, the debut company of yesterday. Of course, it ended with almost 12% gains. Another day, day 2, 1.5% higher at 123. So slowly and gradually, the gains are building onto this space as well. In the broader markets, you also have some of the other stocks like MK Global Financial Services that's opening about 5% higher in trade. We'll also keep an eye out on Viceroy Hotels, that's up 5%. Kernex Microsystems another 5% higher. You have, so those are the stocks that you should be looking at. Let's look at Nifty next 50 names. Beyond the Adani Group companies, railway companies like IRFC, that's in fine shape today. You have Interglobe Aviation, that's almost up 1%. Macrotech Developers further gaining ground about 1% higher. HAL and BEL again continue to be in fine shape right now. Within the small cap basket, CDSL, kudos to Osho right there for pointing out that stock. It's the top mover in the small cap index, 2% higher. He's the one who's indicated that one. The other stock that he talked about is Geo Finance. Let's see how that one is opening in the opening trading session right here within a few minutes of opening. Flattish with a negative bias, 0.2% lower in trade. Let's look at some of the other small cap movers. Brigade Enterprises 2% higher, BML, Aadhar Housing Finance, Awas Financiers, Chambal Fertilizers and Chemicals. Those are the stocks that are moving up. Let's look at the defense names. Remember, already discussed, but let's look at Cochin Shipyard, another stock that has been continuously on the upward trajectory. 5% higher now for Cochin. Colgate Palmolive we've marked already. Let's also look at higher. Let's look at GRSE. That's been in thick shape over the last few odd trading sessions. So let's see if that one is continuing to move up higher within the shipbuilder space. Yes, 3.7% higher. Let's also pull up Mazagon Dock to see how that one is also shaping up in trade. Yes, about 2% up in trade. Let's now look at some of the stocks which are in stocks in news. Let's look at an NBCC, for instance. Remember, NBCC and HUDCO both are in focus. Order win for NBCC for the execution of project, which has an estimated cost of about 600 crores. This is from HUDCO, that it is one for a land parcel in Noida. Yes, that's moving up sharply in trade. Let's look at KEC International. The company has won an order worth 1,700 crore rupees. Both HUDCO and NBCC, by the way, are up by about 4%. KEC is also up by 6.5% right there. Let's look at Wari Renewables. Again, it's received a solar PV project worth about 1233 odd crore rupees. So let's see how that one is also shaping up in trade, 1.5% up. Sonata Software, the company has received the multi-million dollar modernization deal in Australia from a global company, about 2% up in trade. Let's pull up Ujjivan Small Finance Bank. the bank has actually successfully sold its stressed loan portfolio, including a written off loan pool with the outstanding value of about 270 odd crore rupees. There's a 1% uptick on this one. PCBL, let's look at this one as well. There's news coming in from the Andhra Pradesh government, which has allotted 116 acres of land for the company's chemical unit, and the company now plans to establish a manufacturing plant with the state with an investment of 3,718 odd crore rupees. There's an over 2% uptick for this one. Let's look at even Godrej Properties. The company has launched its QIP with a floor price of 2727 rupees per share. The floor price is at a discount of nearly 4%. So we are seeing a uptick of about 2% coming in on this one. So there is some buoyancy returning to Godrej Properties. Let's look at Ashoka Buildcon. This one has been volatile. The company has now submitted a bid for a project in Madhya Pradesh for the Vidyut Vitaran, and the accepted bid price for the project is about 193 odd crore rupees, 2.3% higher for this one as well. So those are some of the stocks that we are looking at in the early moving action. Let's get back with our discussion with Osho to help us understand what is he looking at right in the opening. Osho, for you.
There are many counters which are looking very positive, has given a very strong breakout in the last trading session. The first one is Engineers India. Engineers India yesterday has given a very strong breakout of approximately over 200 odd levels, and I am expecting with the development on the technical front, it has made a double bottom formation. So there can be a potential upside movement in the coming period, or maybe for the day. I am expecting a target of approximately 212 to 214 in short term. Maybe by 1 or 2 days, one can eye for a target of 212 to 14. While on the lower end for short term traders, 195 is the zone where one should keep a strict stop loss. The other counter which you already have mentioned, PCBL, is looking very positive. This counter have seen very strong gain in the last two trading sessions. Yesterday it has emerged on above the 50-day exponential moving average, and today also it is approximately 2.5% higher as of now also. But overall, there has been a turnaround in the trend in this counter, and I expect that with the ongoing momentum, this can test the zone of 465 in a very short-term perspective. So this counter also looks very positive. Other than these, defensive counters have already been into a very strong play. For example, Hindustan Aeronautics has given a sloping trendline breakout in the last trading session and has started decent traction in the recent period. So I expect there can be a gradual up move, not very aggressive, because there has been a very strong movement from the zone of 4,000 towards 44 or 4,500 odd levels. But from here onwards, the trend has changed in this counter, and I expect that there can be a gradual up move towards the zone of 4,800 in the coming period. So it is for short-term investment perspective. It's not that in 1 2 days one can eye for a target of 4,800, but definitely the trend has changed in this counter, and I expect that in the coming period, another 350 or 400 point of rally can be seen in HAL also.
Okay, EIL, PCBL and HAL from the defense space is something that Osho is keeping a keen eye out on right now. Okay, so we are seeing sectorally strength build on in the real estate pack now. The index itself is about 1.3% higher. FMCG is picking up pace, 0.8% up right now. So stocks like ITC are coming back in focus. Colgate, like I pointed out, is also buzzing in the F&O space right there. These are the two pockets that we should be looking at. Within the real estate pack, let's look at the key winners. Again, it's macro tech developers. There is no sign of slowing down. This is an outperforming counter within the space, 3% higher. Now another one for this one, Brigade is up, Godrej Properties, Prestige, Sobha, Raymond, Mahindra Life Spaces and even Oberoi Realty. They're all buzzing in trade. And how? Osho, to you, for the real estate pack, where should one continue to put in their fresh bets? Osho, could you unmute yourself, please?
Oh, I am really sorry.
No worries.
See, there are many counters which are looking very positive from the real estate space, but on the technical front, I am more excited about the movement that we are witnessing in macro tech developers. Lodha has seen a very decent traction in the recent period, has emerged above the cluster of its moving average, and now the short-term moving average have started showcasing a positive crossover. It has just given a positive crossover above the 100-day exponential moving average. So I expect that the momentum should continue from here onwards. On immediate basis, the first target for Lodha comes around the zone of 1370. while on the lower end, the support is approximately around the zone of 1250. So that is a very strong support. On the higher end, 1360 to 70 is the first target. The time it surpasses the same zone, then we can see another set of rally of another 250 to 300 odd points in the coming period. So Lodha is looking very positive to me. Even DLF has seen a very decent traction in the last week. This week there has been a consolidation in this counter, but I expect that as it is hovering above the bullish cap, there can be a probability that this counter can see a positive traction in the coming period. But this is a buy above kind of a counter. If it sustains above the zone of 835, one should definitely try to accumulate this counter. I am expecting a target of nearly 880 in the short term duration, but one should
Okay.
wait for 835 to get attained.
Okay, FMCG now is further picking up pace. The index is up by almost a percent now, and you're seeing HUL now pull up to the top spot as far as the Nifty is concerned, almost 1.6% up right now. ITC is up by 1.1%. Then you have Colgate up 3% in the cash market. Marico is pulling up 2% higher. Varun Beverages another 1% up. Dabur, Godrej Consumer Products, Tata Consumer Products, and even the liquor space stocks like a Radico, Khaitan for that instance is also moving up. United Spirits as well. These are the pockets that are buzzing. Across the board, FMCG garnering pace. What will you say on the FMCG space, Osho?
See, overall, many counters have started gaining strong traction in the FMCG space. Majorly, if we will be talking about Marico, this counter have seen a drastic movement in the last few trading session. It has seen a very strong resurgence from the 200 simple moving average, and from there onwards, from 660 towards the 660 zone, it has seen a single side rally. Same kind of a movement is expected from Godrej consumers also. On Godrej consumer, the momentum is yet to be seen in this counter. I am expecting that in the coming period, the first target that one can expect with Godrej consumer is 1320 kind of a zone. The time it surpasses the zone of 1320, then again we can see nearly 1380 to 1400 on immediate basis. So this is counter also look very positive to me. Now coming to the heavyweights like Hindustan Unilever, this counter is at a very strong consolidation zone near the 200 simple moving average. But I would be better wait for another day of a follow-up buying in this counter, because as of now it has formed a very strong base. But from here onwards, another set of buying emergence will be very crucial in this counter to provide momentum. So I expect that if it sustains above the zone of 2500 for the day, then in the coming period, definitely we can see some kind of positive movement. But I would be very much bullish in this counter once it breaches the zone of 2540 on a closing basis. From there onwards, I will be having a very strong stance for the target of nearly 2750 in the short term period.
Okay, got it. Let's look at the new age tech space now. Several of the stocks that are buzzing. Honasa Consumer has pulled up 9.5% higher. This is the parent company of Mama Earth. That's moved up pretty sharply in trade today. Let's also focus on Paytm for that instance. Remember, UBS has come out with a target price which is raised to 1000 levels for this one. So Paytm is up by about 2 odd percent at the day's high. UBS believes there is a significant improvement that's priced in, and adjusted EBITDA break even is likely as of fourth quarter of FY25, which is estimated earnings right there. This is the other one. Let's look at even Swiggy and Zomato as to how are they doing, because these spaces have also been in thick action. Remember, yesterday Swiggy went past 500 levels for the first time as well, and Zomato continues to hover around 285 odd levels right here. Let's come to you, Osho. The momentum picking up pace in the new age tech space. How should one be really spreading their cash right here across the board? Is food delivery your top space? Are there others also that are coming onto your radar? What would you do?
See, definitely there are many counters which are performing very well. For example, firstly, I will say about Paytm. This counter has been a multi-bagger for the year, and there
Yeah.
has been a consistent upside movement in this counter. But on the higher end, I am expecting the previous high of approximately 985, 990 kind of a zone can provide some kind of breather or halt to the ongoing momentum in this counter. So I would be rather still there is again 40 50 points of upside movement still pending in this counter. and it is into a very strong momentum. So one should definitely stay invested in this counter for another 50 points of movement, but around the zone of 990, one should definitely try to book their profits. Now, coming to counters like Zomato and Swiggy, both are looking very positive from a very long period on the technical front. For example, Zomato have seen a very strong rebound from the zone of 240, which was the bullish gap on the daily time frame, and from there onwards, the counter have now moving towards 290 and will be retesting the lifetime high zone also. So I'm very much bullish in both Swiggy and Zomato that in the coming period, firstly, Zomato will be entering into a zone of 300 plus kind of a target can be seen. So definitely one should hold their investment in both the counters from short to medium term time frame. Technically, it is looking very promising, and I expect the time it breaches the zone of 295, there can be another set of 30 on immediate terms, 30 point of movement can be seen. So 220, 225 should be the, sorry, 320, 325 should be the immediate target for Zomato.
Okay, got that. So that's the new age tech space that you can focus on, viewers. Let's also look at the Adani Group stocks yet again to see where the momentum is shaping up. Adani Enterprises now up 1.2% higher in trade. Then within the broader markets, Adani Energy Solutions is holding up 8%. We have Adani Green holding up 7%. Total Gas about 7% higher in trade as well. Adani Power also moving up smartly for the day too. It's about 5.5% higher in trade. Adani Ports also is moving up for the second day in a row in a strong momentum right there. Osho, within the Adani Group, what is the sense that you're getting in that division where people are saying that till the time dust settles, one should not really enter into this space? Or do you think the kind of narrative that is being built on over the last few days, it seems that the fundamentals remain intact? Of course, there is this legal trouble which will get addressed legally itself, and one should continue to focus on their long-term focus and within the pack. How would you address it?
See, overall, I expect that there can be strong volatility in the coming period because Adani is always into news and there has been some both positive, negative, both kind of a scenario in this counter. But looking at the overall development on the news
Yeah.
based, I expect that there can be a decent traction in this counter. All the coincidence is that in the last year, November month, the counter Adani Enterprise, for example, has made a low of nearly 2,150, and this month also in November 2024, this counter has zone of 2150 2200 odd levels. So
Okay.
from there onwards, last year, looking at the trend in the last year, after testing the zone of 2150, the counter have seen a very strong rally towards 3200, followed by 3700 odd levels. So I expect the same thing can be seen in current scenario also, but this will be very preemptive. And looking at the overall news flow, there can be volatility, but technically, I would be saying that aggressive investor can definitely take positions in Adani Enterprise. On immediate basis, I am expecting that 27 to 2800 can be retested in this counter in a very short term span. And the time, if everything remains constant, and once it breaches the zone of 2800, then again this counter has the ability to enter the 3000 odd zone. So obviously, for aggressive traders or investors, I would be advised that they can actually take a buying bet in this counter.
Okay, got that. So that's as far as the Adani Group is concerned. Again, let's look at some of the other moving parts in the market, viewers. In the FNO space, Vodafone is again pulling up 4% higher now in the FNO space. It's the third day in a row when we are seeing continuous gains coming in on Vodafone. This is right after the news of bank guarantee waivers came in. That has been taken in very positively by Vodafone Idea. Further, of course, this was a stock that was completely dragging right after the AGR news came in from the Supreme Court. It was completely losing all its ground, but it's from the last 3 days that some light at the end of tunnel is what Vodafone Idea is looking at. Any signs of reversal coming back to Vodafone Idea on the charts, Osho?
See, overall, this counter is very volatile again, but
Yeah.
technical would be working some way in this counter. So there is a positive divergence on the technical indicators and price action. And with the last three trading sessions, there has been a strong rebound in this counter. So I expect that the lower lows and the lower highs formation has been negated with today's strong movement of nearly 3%. So I expect as the counter has moved beyond the previous swing high, which was approximately around the zone of 8.50. So this counter has a potential to again move on the higher end. But on the higher end, 9.5 is the first resistance. If it breaches the same, then again one need to have a pragmatic approach in this counter, one step at a time kind of a scenario with Vodafone. So I would be expecting that at current 9.5 is the target that one can eye for in this counter. If it breaches the same, then there can be a continuity of higher highs, higher lows kind of a pattern in this counter. So overall, again, aggressive traders and investors can take position. On the lower end, the support is lying around the zone of 7.7, on the higher end 9.5.
Okay, got that. Only aggressive traders should be really looking at it. Okay, you did talk about the defense names, Osho, but I also wanted to put it in one more pocket, and that is the railways as well, which is along with defense started to show some signs of a reversal too, especially in stocks like, say, an IRFC for that instance, Jupiter Wagons for that instance, RBNL, Railtel. These are the stocks that are slowly and gradually showing us some upticks, and even related stocks like Triveni Turbine for that instance is also pulling up. How are you looking at this entire space? Does anything come onto your radar afresh where you think that the risk reward is perfect, signs of reversal are in place, and in case one has a position here, one should start doubling down on some of the stocks?
See, there are all these counters have started gaining decent traction from the lows, and there has been a positive divergence in majority of the railway counters. And looking at the overall trend, all the railway counters have started making a very strong formation, base formation for themselves. So I expect that in the coming period, because majority of the counters are still hovering below the sloping trend line, that means they are below the previous swing high. So the time they breaches the previous swing high, there can be a strong trend reversal in these counters, but they are on a verge of giving a fresh breakout. They are still from the zone of sideways to positive. They are trading in a sentiments as of now, but technically some sign of respite and some sign of pullback can be seen on the technical front, although it will be an early sign to say that from here onwards we can see a very strong pullback. But there is an early sign that the counters can see some kind of decent movement from here onwards. Now, stock specific, I expect RVNL is having a very strong base formation from the 200 simple moving average, which is approximately 420 kind of a zone, which is a very strong support, and it is on the verge of giving a sloping trend line breakout also. So I expect the time it breaches the zone of 455, 460, we can have a trend reversal in this counter. Again, Container Corporation is also looking very positive to me. Only for short, I would be saying that short-term traders can take positions in this counter. 800, the bullish gap, which is the last week's bullish gap, is there around the zone of 795. One should keep a stop loss of this and can uh, take a bullish bet for a higher target of nearly 845 to 50. So these are for short-term trend. The overall counter trend or reversal in the trend is still pending in majority of the counters. So for a strong trend reversal, one should wait. But for aggressive traders, one can definitely start taking long bets in these.
Okay, understood on that front. Let's go back and look at Ola Electric, viewers. There's a further pickup in pace that we are looking at Ola Electric on. Remember, yesterday was when there was a 20% circuit on this one. It's again moved to the top spot, about 6% higher in trade now at around 93 odd levels. Osho, what are the charts of Ola Electric really suggesting to you? It's been in a long consolidating zone. The stock price fell below the issue price of 76 for a long haul as well. There were several, issues with respect to rising complaints of consumers. While the company jumped in onto, addressing some of those, the investors' confidence was just not returning. But look at the kind of newer launches that the company has done, and that is again fueled some spirits into this one. How would you look at Ola?
See, overall, the stock was into a very strong downtrend, but in the last trading session, the time it surpasses the zone of 82.5 or 83 kind of a zone, there has been a very strong reversal on the technical front, because yesterday there has been strong trading volumes that were also seen in this counter. So I expect that now the trend of making lower lows, lower highs has definitely been negated. The counter have emerged above the short-term moving average on the hourly time frame chart. So I expect that from here onwards, this counter has a potential to go in a zone of cycle of higher highs, higher lows, keeping in mind that one should have a very strong stop loss placed around the zone of 82 odd levels. Until it sustains above 82, there is a probability that this counter can see a higher highs kind of a formation. But the time it again breaches the zone of 82.5, then we can see it entering into a consolidation zone. So again, it will be very early to say on the technical front because we do not have that much of data. But overall, I am expecting that 82, 83 should be acting as a very strong support for this counter. And with the ongoing momentum, I expect that the next potential target should be somewhere around 106 to 108.
Okay, got that. So that's as far as Ola Electric is concerned. Let's again look at the broader markets, viewers, to see if there are some interesting names that are coming in. You have Sangvi Movers, that's up by about 5 odd percent right now. Bliss GVS Pharma, that's nearly up 6%. Then you have Fed Bank Financial Services, it's been in thick momentum. It continues to move up, about 7% higher in trade. Prism Johnson is up by about 8.5% as well. Deep Industries, that's up 6.5%. Jayashree Tea is moving up as well. Those are some far and few between names that are actually pulling up pace. Let's look at the Nifty next 50 names as well. Siemens is further pulling up 2% higher. It was in thick momentum. Along with the other capital good majors. Even Havells is moving up now about 0.6% up in trade. LIC is also moving up about 2 odd percent right there. So the life insurance space also coming back to the fore after a long haul. Oil and gas space, of course, you have OMCs and both the gas stocks also slightly recovering in trade. Anything within the broader markets, Osho, that catches your attention?
So overall, there are some counters which looks positive to me, but again, I won't be very much aggressive for the day. But looking
Sure.
at the overall broader market, there are some counters like Havells is looking very positive. This has started gaining strong traction from the zone of 1660, 1670 odd levels and has been gaining a gradual movement in the last pre-trading session. Currently, it is at a very strong, crucial zone of 200 simple moving average. But looking at the trend, I expect that there can be a continuation towards the zone of 1770 to 1780 in the coming period. So this counter looks positive to me. Now other counters like VBL is again, it has also seen a very strong momentum in the recent period and sorry, in the last week. In the recent period, it has been into a corrective phase or some kind of breather it has made. But again, I am very much sure that from here onwards there can be a decent again positive buying in this counter coming in the coming period. 630 is the first target. The time it breaches the zone of 630, it has the potential to test the zone of 660. So a counter that one should definitely keep at their watch list. The time it surpasses the zone of 630, one should definitely try to accumulate it for 30 points of rally in this counter.
All right, Osho. Well, we will leave it at that. Thank you so much for giving us your time and sharing a wide perspective across the markets in various pocket sectors and stocks that you've highlighted for all our viewers. Right now, a flattish move on the Nifty. Let's see how it pans out. 24,275 is right now with us. The Nifty Bank is further picking up pace. If you could see, 52,500 is now with us on the Nifty Bank, almost 200 points higher in trade. The real estate pack, the FMCG pack, broader markets, those are the pockets that are looking up. But IT has taken a back foot, is on the back foot right now, almost a percent lower for the IT index. Pharma is also lower in trade. So between the three defensives, IT and Pharma are on the back foot. FMCG is gaining ground today. Autos are flattish with a negative bias today after yesterday's strong surge, is what we can see. India VIX is also flat with a negative bias at 14.6 odd levels. But it's the media stocks, realty, PSU banks that is up, oil and gas, metals, broader markets, mid and small caps, that is FMCG and consumer durables, that are still holding up in trade. And further, you are seeing gains coming and getting added onto the Adani group. Adani Enterprises was up by 1.5% when we discussed the stock with both Devin and with Osho. But right now it's up by 3.3%. So you can see further pull up happening there. Adani Ports also up by 1.2%. So second day in a row when we are seeing some gains come through for this space as well. The Nifty PSE index is also up by about 0.5% now. Stocks like IRFC, BHEL, Coal India, NHPC, the power space also coming back in trade. So let's continue to track all the momentum that's garnering pace in the trade today. Remember, it's the Nifty expiry and we'll see how it really pans out in trade as well. So do stay tuned with us on Business Today. We will continue to come back with top market experts to guide you through what should your strategy be in the current market. Stay tuned.
I have gone through this indictment by the US court running into some 54 pages. My assessment is, and it is clear, that there are 5 charges or 5 counts. It is very important to note